is good, my people, my peeps? How are you guys doing this afternoon? I thought I'd jump in here real quick. I missed you all. I was getting over a little cold, but hey, I thought I'd say hello today and bring you a little message, okay? So, y'all get in here, buckle up, and baby, when I say hold on tight. Ladies, I need your attendance for this class that we are going to be having today, and I do mean a class. How about it? I hope you all are doing well, though. Um, yeah, keep yourself healthy. Drink all your juices and all that good stuff. Today, we're going to be talking about an interesting subject because I am, and if you've followed my platform for any time now, you know that I am a continuous student. Okay, I will always be a student. I will never proclaim or profess that I know everything. Okay, so I just want you to know that. How are you doing, Drip King? How are you doing today? Hope all is well with you and the family. So thanks for coming in. And as everyone else comes in, please make sure you go ahead and hit the thumbs up. This is going to be very interesting, this topic that I'm going to be talking to you all about today. So, hey, if you have any comments, please make sure you put them into the chat. And after this, on the replay, go ahead and put your comments in the chat, especially if you would like for me to research this topic a little further. Okay, we will get into it. That's great. That's great. I'm glad to hear that your family is doing amazing. That's how it should be. That is how it should be. Okay. So, yes, this is going to be an interesting topic for sure today. Uh, so, like I was saying before, go ahead and make sure you put your comments in the chat. If you have any questions, if I'm able to answer your questions, I will make sure to do so. Hello, Deborah. How are you doing today? Glad you stopped in. Um, so, oh my goodness, you have a powerful name too. Yes, Deborah. I need more ladies to join the chat. Deborah is a warrior in the Bible, the only Israelite warrior female that led an army of men into battle. So you have a very strong name. Um, yeah, so y'all see the title of today's stream is Who is and I hopefully I'll say her name right. Aristra. Eh, Okay, we gonna get the pronunciation of that. Okay, um, Ashira, Ashira. Okay, who is Ashira? Is that God's wife? Is that God's wife? You know, like I was saying before, that I am a forever ever student. I will always be studying. I will never proclaim or profess that I know it all. So when coming into the awakening that I am Israel, I am native to many lands. How about that? We are the blueprint, right? Um, was a shock. So I did some deep diving, but in my journey in learning of who I am regarding me being Israel, I also ran into a lot of what we would see in the world today as far as oppression of the feminine aspect in the Bible. Okay. And so, what I'm here to do today is to continue to learn and continue to bring out what is said in the Bible that we know to be manipulated. We have to understand that the Bible has always been used to be an oppressive tool, and it has been manipulated for these such things. Okay, so when I do my studies, I have that understanding in mind. Okay, yes, Drip King, I know that you are Muslim. That's no problem here. That's no problem here, because hey, if you want to serve the Most High Yah, I think you're Allah. You know, that's between you and your salvation, right? So, yeah, we're gonna get into this. Who is this ASHERAH? Um, I want to ask a question of my Israelite brothers and sisters, because do you, first and foremost, do you keep the law? Okay, are you a sinner? That's the question I should ask. First and foremost, are you a sinner? Okay, and people will have so many different ways to determine if they are a sinner, right? And I just want to go ahead and break down and give you the simplified versions to let you know if you're a sinner or not. And breaking the commandments, the law that the Most High Yah has given down, that's what constitutes sin. Okay, so you'll have people who have, oh, smoking cigarettes, that's a sin. That's defiling your body maybe, but a sin, no. Okay, so you have different people will give different answers to if they are a sinner or not, or if you are a sinner. So I just wanted to break down that, make that real plain. The breaking of the law is sinning. Okay, and so now that we have that right up front, um, to my Israelite brothers and sisters, and anybody who keeps the laws and commandments, um, do you keep the law? Okay, because we're getting ready to go into Passover. Oh yes, and we hold our head high. You keep the laws, the commandments, and keeping the feast days is one of our commandments that you know we are to keep, and that is part of sinning or not sinning, right? Keeping the commandments. So the feast days are coming up, and I want to talk about Passover. And so, as you see the picture up here, we have a menorah. Is very important to this conversation that we're going to be having this afternoon. And we have a black, a melanated woman, and I put her up there just for visual purposes as ASHERAH. Is ASHERAH God's wife, and has she been oppressed throughout the biblical text? And we're going to get into that today. So, like I said, hold on, buckle up tight. If you need to go ahead and get you some popcorn, some juice, water, what have you. I'm not going to try to make this conversation go too long, okay? But I am going to give you something to think about. I am going to give you something to think about for sure. So I brought up Passover because, as you can see in the back of this picture, we see the menorah. And that is one of the items that we use during Passover times, okay? And so just keep that in mind. That is why that picture is up there, okay? And this is going to help tie into some things that's going to make you say, that's really going to make you say, um, there are many tablets and scrolls and documentation to prove that women in biblical texts known as our King James Bible have been oppressed, and uh, really made to not look as if there is a superior being alongside of a male deity or a male entity known as the Most High God. Okay. Now, if you study anything, and especially if you are studying like I study, and I do take breaks now and then. Don't get it twisted. I don't just sit here and just go in like a hermit. I do take breaks, but um, things do they continue to come up, and I'm not getting any answers from the people that I have studied from. It seems as if they they found out they are the people of the Bible, and they are now becoming the oppressors. Okay, they seem to me, in my eyes, that they are becoming the oppressors of other nations of people, and they are becoming the oppressors of females also. Okay, so that's just my take on it right now. So let's get into it, guys. um there's many people who go against the ideal of that God has a female aspect to him, and that God even has a wife, you know. And I don't know why that would be even hard for you to even fathom, but for if you're thinking on the spectrum of, or the if you're thinking with a patriarchal mindset, then you can think like that. There's only a man entity, and it's the only one that's ruling, right? um, and that's how it's set up down here right now, and that's how it was made to be set up. But in ancient times, there were female entities, and we know God is not, that is a title. Okay, that's a title. And if you study and show yourself approved, you will know that to use, hello Martin, how you doing, how you doing, welcome in, welcome in. You will know that the word God is simply a title. And we who show ourselves approved, who study, know that in the beginning, Elohim, okay, Elohim said, let us make man in our image. And going back, not to go too far back, because we're going to focus on Asher right now. So hopefully you studied enough to know who Elohim is, okay? They took out the word Elohim when they wrote the Bible again for the commoners to understand, right? And they inserted the word God as singular when Elohim is plural, and that means many gods. Okay. So in the beginning, Elohim said, let us make man in our image. And so that implied that there were other gods that were in, that are functioning, okay, in this realm when they created man and woman at the same time. Okay, so Elohim is the God that I am talking about, because also in your studies, Elohim and the God of Israel are two separate gods. Okay, Elohim we would know as the ultimate God, the Most High God. Okay, and there is a confusion when it comes to knowing this. Okay, that some call God Yahweh. Um, if you are, I believe that is, I can't remember what religious sect they call him, Yahweh, and things of that nature. So the God of Israel is known as Yah. We call him Yah. Okay, but the Most High God is Elohim, or El. Okay, so that's a little deep, and I don't want to go that route with you all today. Okay, so what's up, Gotten? How you doing? How are you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. Glad you stopped in today. So let's get into it. Sorry about that. Get that down. Let's get on into who is ASHERAH. So I'm going to pull up some documentaries to help you all. This will be only audio today. This will be only audio today. I will play some of the audio, and then I will go back into the comments to see if you have any questions as we go along. You're doing good. That's great. I am glad to hear that, Gotten. So let me get this queued up. I had it queued up, y'all, but sitting here talking, I have to re-queue it. Okay, so today we are asking the question, does God have a wife? And I need you to take notes if possible, if you can, or you might have one of those good memories where you can remember everything that we're going to get ready to discuss, okay? As far as ASHERAH. And I need you, if you are awake, if you are proclaiming to be Israel, then you will understand the menorah that I have in this picture behind this woman who I'm just using as an image of ASHERAH today. Okay. But the menorah is very important because I asked two questions in the beginning. Do you keep the law? And if you keep the law, um, great. But if you don't keep the law, that is what we consider sinning. You are a sinner if you do not keep the law. And Passover is getting ready to be upon us. And keeping the law is keeping our holidays, right? Our holidays. And the menorah is part of our holidays. So this gets deep. And you should always ask yourself, where do things come from? Where do they originate from? And why are they there? And if I am Israel, why am I using the menorah during Passover? Okay, that's what I need you to understand and ask yourself. If I am Israel, I keep the law, Passover is coming, I participate in Passover, why do we use the menorah during Passover? Okay, so just keep that in the back of your head. I'll write that down on your notes. And so we're going to get into a little bit of the origin of um, ASHERAH. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing this right. So I'm going to turn this up really quick, and we're going to get into it, and we're going to have this discussion. Let me try to get it back to the marker I wanted at, because I don't want to get too deep. I want to introduce this to you all, and then we can go into a deeper conversation. Okay, so if you give me a little minute. Okay, let me see if that's close enough. So remember, in the beginning, Elohim said, let us make man. And if you know, Elohim is short for El. Okay, El is the Almighty God. Okay, the Almighty God. And it is a difference between Yahweh. There is a difference between um, and Yah. Okay, because Elohim means is plural. So it's many gods. And that was taken out of your Bible. So that's why I have to have you understand and have a mind of learning. Okay? And not indoctrination. Let's get it. So let me turn this.
The same way that people in the West today wear gold crosses as jewelry.
Okay, hold
Three
on.
huge reasons why you should definitely avoid using this on your hair in just 2 weeks.
Let's skip these commercials. So we're going to be introduced to her. Okay.
Israel depict a sacred tree flanked by caprids, and the more famous one shows the goddess ASHERAH flanked by lions in the equivalent spot on the bottom register.
So I'm a person who very much sees things in patterns and sees things in puzzle pieces. Okay. Um, so I need you to follow along if you can when I point out things. Okay. So I might just show you all what I'm looking at so that you all can see. Hold on. Maybe I'll do that because some of you guys are visual learners and not just audio learners. Okay, so but what I want you to note that I want you to write down tree. Okay, that's what I want you to write down, the word tree, Tree. Okay, because Asherah was always depicted amongst trees, and Asherah was also depicted as El's wife, Elohim's wife. Okay, so if you are studied, you probably would know most of what I'm already talking to you all about. And if you're not, that's okay. You can learn. Like I said, I'm not a pro. I am learning. I'm always a student and will always be a student. Um, so also, let me say this. Hold on. Let me get this queued up so that y'all can see. Let me see. Okay. Hopefully I got this where you guys can see. So I'll be stopping and showing this documentary a little bit, and I'll probably be turning it off because I want this to stay up for educational purposes. Okay, guys. So I'm trying to get this to where it's in frame a little better. I want this to stay up for educational purposes. So this is for learning too. I don't want any issues with it not being able to stay up. So, like I said, there's some things you should already have taken note of. And that is, if you're Israel, do you keep the commandments? If so, that means you keep the law. That means that you will be celebrating Passover, which is coming up. That is our new year coming into the springtime. Okay, you will be celebrating Passover. That is why in this picture you see above the video, the menorah is part of the celebration of Passover. Okay, and I asked you to also take down and write down tree. We're putting the puzzle pieces together, guys. We cannot be asleep, and if nobody's going to teach you or show you, only show you things to oppress you, then you will stay oppressed. Okay, and I'm here to open your mind and get you to study for yourself. Okay, so here we go. We're talking about Asher. Is she the wife of God? Let's go. So this is showing her in different architect finds. So hold on, it's down here.
These date to the early Israelite monarchy, Iron Age 2A. According to Joshua 21:25, Tanakh was a Levite settlement. Some scholars believe these stands belonged to a local cult devoted to Asherah. A bit later, in Iron Age 2B, we have examples of seals from around Palestine showing sacred trees flanked by worshippers, suggesting that Asherah continued to be venerated in tree form within the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. In Philistine territory and Judahite regions bordering the Philistines, we also find terracotta plaques with the image of a naked goddess that is assumed to be Asherah. We also find thousands of pillar-shaped goddess figurines throughout ancient Judah whose meaning and purpose are disputed, but which many scholars interpret as a symbol of the goddess Asherah. Some of the most critical evidence related to Asherah from this period was found at a caravanserai along an ancient trade route just to the south of Judah. The location is called Contilet Adrud, and the shards of 2 large storage jars, called pithoi, found at the site have illustrations and inscriptions of interest. One depicts a sacred tree with flowers and perhaps fruit that 2 caprids are feeding on. It is positioned above a lion and is believed to represent the goddess ASHERAH. 3 other shards were used as material for writing letters, and the messages inscribed on them include blessings in the name of Yahweh and ASHERAH. 2 of them refer to Yahweh as, quote, Yahweh of Teman, end quote, and the third calls him, quote, Yahweh of Samaria, end quote, implying that the travelers who wrote these messages were familiar with temples or shrines to Yahweh in those locations. One inscription appears above an illustration of a god with bovine figures, and scholars debate whether the juxtaposition is intentional or coincidental. A 4th blessing.
So I'm going to pause right there really quick.
Check this out.
Which was good because a commercial came on. So what you have already seen is that if you know anything about Samaria, and if you don't, let me give you just a hint. You probably have heard of the Anunnaki. So if you heard about the Anunnaki, you probably heard about Samaria, and I've talked about the Anunnaki, and Samaria is the place where the oldest text has been found. Okay, so down from Samaria, I can't remember the name, but that is where I believe Noah's homeland is, a little bit down from Samaria. So a lot of what you're going to be hearing and seeing when they mention Yahweh and Asherah. Let me get my notes. Yahweh and Asherah together, they always put the Yah and Asherah together as a male god and a female goddess together during the time of Samaria and what you just heard. I can't remember. I'm not going to go back though. You can rewind this back. So it's documented. You just seen it for yourself in clay tablets. They mentioned this female god along with Yahweh. Yah, or some call him. Everybody has a different name. Y'all know that already. So we're going to keep it pushing.
Show you how.
Let me pass this commercial real quick.
Okay, you ready? All right, 118.
Let's pass this. Skip this commercial. Okay, here we go.
Babylonian dynasty, the dynasty of Hammurabi, who was an emerald of ASHERAH.
We're going to move up a little bit. We're going to skip up a little bit because I want to get into why I have the menorah up there and why I told you guys to write down the word tree. Okay. Because when you go into this, and this is a long documentary, I'm not going to play the whole documentary, but it's called the origin. Let me see if you can sit up here. The origin. What is this? Move this out the way. Hold on. The true origin of God's wife, Asherah, will blow your mind. That is what the documentary is called. If you want to pull that up for yourself, watch the whole documentary. I'm just going in and I'm going to be just tagging a couple of things that I want to bring out to get your mind to going. To maybe you might want to go watch this documentary. Because you have to understand that a lot of the history comes out of Canaan. A lot of the history that is in your Bible today. I know, can I say that's Babylon, and this. We're in Babylon, honey, right now as we speak. But so a lot of the history that is in the Bible comes out of Babylon, Canaan, and Samaria, and is put into your Bible. And if you don't believe me, just go and look at the story of the woman at the well that took place in Samaria. Okay, she didn't even know that she was a Jew. She was in Samaria. People use that. I broke down that teaching even because people and your pastors have always used that teaching. When Jesus went to the woman at the well in Samaria, which is a Babylonian city. Um, they use it as, oh, you have so many husbands, you are a harlot, you are this, and you know, that's how they use the teaching because they are unstudied. Yahweh, Jesus, this is just a side note, just so to get you to understand that our Bible has Sumerian text in it. It has text from Canaanite learnings, and so on and so forth. But the woman at the well story is not for you to concentrate on because Jesus could look and tell her she had several husbands. Jesus using that to let her know, I know who you are, and I also know that you are Jew. He went to the woman at the well to tell her that she is not Samaritan, she was a Jew, and to go run and tell the people in the town who she had seen at the well, who could give them everlasting life, everlasting water, which meant that her relatives were Jew. Okay, just like when you all awaken here in Babylon, America, you awaken to know that you are Jew. Someone awakened you from the Most High, blessed them to awaken you to know that you are Jew. The woman at the well story was not about her being a harlot or how many husbands she had. It was to come and let her know that she was a Jew. Wake up, okay? So I wanted to say that to get you to understand that our biblical text that we have now does have writings from out of Samaria because that is where that story comes from regarding the woman at the well. Okay, so let's continue. Let me cue this up more. We're gonna move down. So Asherah has always been in text, tablets, carvings, but in Deuteronomy, they had people who wanted to oppress, to take out the woman, the feminine aspect of God. Okay, and they wanted to oppress that, and that started in the books of Deuteronomy. Okay, so when you look at tablets, because you don't understand ancient writing, you may, let me not say you don't, but you may, ancient writing, Egyptian writings and such, they wrote with pictures, they wrote with hieroglyphs. Okay, and so when we're going back talking about Asherah, she was always depicted with or Yahweh. Okay, some of you all call him Yahweh, and that was a correction on my part. Not, and I don't go too deep right now, but yes, there's always, even with the Most High God, there has always been a female Godhead, and with the Yah, as we know, has always been there, but it has been oppressed. It has been taken out, and they find this starting mostly in Deuteronomy. But if you are here right now and you say that you serve the Most High, or you serve Yah, right? Um, and you're getting ready to keep his holidays, this menorah is very important for you to understand. Okay, because I know some people say, oh, this is blasphemy. You don't know what you're talking about. No, you're unstudied. Okay, and I'm trying to help you right now. So what we're looking at and what they're getting ready to show you are how ASHERAH was always depicted in writings and hieroglyphs as a tree. She was also mentioned in Psalms. So before I get too far down, we're going to listen in. Let's go.
Typically flanked by ibexes or other caprids. The presence of animals feeding on the tree, fertility, nourishment, and blessings. A famous jug from a temple in Lachish, known as the Lachish Yoder, is decorated with a tree flanked by caprids and an inscription that reads, quote, "A present for my lady Elat," end quote. Pendants in the shape of stylized trees have been found at the same temple, and Near Eastern iconography expert Othmar Kell suggests that tree pendants were worn as symbols of ASHERAH, in much the same way that people in the West today crosses. Two cult stands found in the depict a sacred linked by caprids, and the more famous one shows the goddess ASHERAH flanked by lions in the equivalent spot on the bottom register. These date to the early Israelite monarchy, Iron Age 2A.
Pause for the cause. Pause for the
In
cause.
reference to her origins.
Pause for the cause. Because I want my Israelite brothers and she was incorporated into Israel. She has always been in Israel. Okay? Asher has always been there. She's been there, she's still there, and you still are participating in acknowledging her to this day via the menorah. Okay? Everything has an origin. And females have been oppressed. That's why I say our Bible has been manipulated, and I need you to understand that. So when you study, hopefully you don't just take every single word of what has been transcribed as everything for biblical text, because it has been manipulated. She has been there from the beginning. Women have been oppressed with this Bible, just as they have used it to oppress slaves, just they use it as a power play. Okay? We're going to continue.
In the Amorite steppeland, but she was also associated with mountains like Amuru, her husband. Babylonian records indicate that Ashratu was highly venerated during the first Babylonian dynasty, the dynasty of Hammurabi, who was an Amorite.
So I'm going to move up because I'll skip back, and we're going to go up a little bit more. Because I want you, because I told you to take note of the tree, okay, and how we wrote.
Expert Othmar.
And in those days were with drawings and hieroglyphs in Egypt. They use more hieroglyphs in Egypt, but we use drawings, and that was our first writings. Okay, and if you know anything, you know that Samaria was the first where they first found the language, the emerald tablets, but there's much more then the emerald tablets, and everything in this time is being revealed. If you stay indoctrinated and that's where you want to stay, that's fine. I'm just here to show you what is and has been. And that you are currently in Babylon, because I know people will say, well, that's Samaria, Babylon, Canaan, that was Babylon, but we've taken, because our people were in those areas. And so our knowledge came from that time period as well. So I need you to understand that when you're researching and understanding history. Let's continue. So that's why it's important to understand the tree, because Asher was represented by the tree. And then we're going to get into what kind of tree. And we're going to get into why I keep saying pay attention to the menorah. Israel.
Raquel suggests that tree pendants were worn as symbols of Asherah in much the same way that people in the West today wear gold crosses as jewelry. 2 coat stands found in the village of Tanakh, Israel, depict a sacred tree flanked by caprids, and the more famous one shows the goddess.
I just want to pause, and we've seen this picture, but I just want to pause once again because I know you hear coat, and for my layman, my unstudied, coat means hidden, coat means secret. Okay, that's what that means. All right, let's go.
Asherah, flanked by lions.
So we've seen that. I'm gonna spin that up.
Register. These date to the early Israelite monarchy, Iron Age 2A.
Okay, and we know that Israel is always and has always been also represented by what? The line of what? Judah, the line of the lions. Okay, let's continue. So they're showing you that Asherah, the God's wife, okay, has always been there. It's always been etched in stone. It's written in stone that it's been there. And so here we go. We're gonna keep the party going.
And scholars debate whether the juxtaposition is intentional or coincidental. A 4th blessing that mentions Yahweh and Asherah was found on a piece of wall plaster from the site. A similar inscription is found at a site in Judah called Kerbet El Kom, which pronounces blessings in the name of Yahweh and his Asherah twice.
Using cinnamon and apple cider vinegar the right way.
Skip this commercial. So are you guys following thus far? It has been written, it has been in stone, it has been carved on the walls, just like they've carved. They got the biblical text out of the sand scripts, okay, carved in sand, in the stone. But they picked and they choose what they wanted to put and use in the Bible. And they did not want a female goddess alongside God. But it's there and they can't hide it anymore because we are in the age of information. We are in the age of information. Say that again. Let me skip that. And I'm going to turn this off because the video off, and we're going to do more audio. I just wanted to show you guys what we were watching, just in case you want to go and watch the whole documentary yourself. So let's go. Let's look at a couple more.
Asherah and her cultic representation were closely associated with the monarchies of Israel and Judah, which is why the topic of Asherah comes up frequently in narratives about royal policy. More, he believes that the Queen Mother might have been regarded as a royal avatar or incarnation of the goddess. The Bible is not a straightforward record of ancient Israelite religion. Most of the references to Asherah in the Old Testament are found in texts associated with the Deuteronomists, a post-exilic theological school that advocated for the exclusive worship of Yahweh.
Did y'all hear that?
As Tilda Binger.
Let me pause it. Did you hear that with your own ears? Deuteronomy, there were men when they started putting these texts together were like, oh no, we don't want a woman goddess. We don't want you to know about God having a female. We don't want you to know about the Elohims. Okay? We don't want you to know about the Elohims. We don't want you to know that there is a female God that sits alongside her husband, Yahweh, Yah. Okay, we don't want you to know about that. So in Deuteronomy is when they started manipulating. I told you when them Romans started getting their hands in that too. They started saying, and if you know about Roman society and you know what Romans do, how you doing? Broke wrist, wink, wink. You know what Romans like? We like there's a meeting in the ladies' room. You know what no, not the ladies' room, honey. There's a meeting in the boys' room. They won't be back very soon. You know what the Romans like. So there has always been an oppression of the female godhead. Okay, let's go.
Observes in her book on Asherah, quote, their knowledge of the religious practices of times past, that is, before the exile, was limited, end quote. Another challenge in understanding the Bible's Asherah references is that the text is often corrupt, and many passages differ greatly between the Masoretic Hebrew text used in our Bibles today and the ancient Greek translations that survive in the Septuagint. We have to look for linguistic and contextual clues to figure out what the original text was talking about. King Asa and the Queen Mother. In Binger's book, she focuses on the passages that have the clearest references to Asherah as a goddess. One such passage concerns King Asa of Judah in 1 Kings 15 and 2 Chronicles 15. In the Hebrew of both passages, it says that Asa removed his mother, Ma'ak.
I need you all to be writing down these books of the Bible so you can go back and research this for yourself. Okay? That's what I need you to be doing, writing down these books of the Bible, writing down what I told you to write down, because I put things together like a puzzle, the pieces that they give us. Okay? And you're going to have, some people that's still indoctrinated. It ain't in King James. I don't want to hear about it. This is solid evidence right here. All you need to know is this right here in King James. Well, I'm going to give you a parallel from King James. Do you know King James killed his mother to be in authority? Just like what they're going to tell you right here in this 1 Kings 15:13. Take out the female godhead. I don't want to hear about it if it's not in this dear book here. Well, you indoctrinated folks. I told you to buckle up. Hold on tight. Let's continue.
Check this out. I'm going to show you how
these
I
commercials get on my nerves, y'all. Hold on.
Okay, you ready?
They get on my nerves. But you can go back, find this for yourself. And I gave you the title of the doggone documentary. Hold on, now I done lost my doggone spot trying to skip this commercial. Gosh, that was getting good too. I hope I can find this spot where we were at. Hold on. Wait a minute, let me see. I might have found it. Y'all give me a minute. Hold on. If we pass it a little bit, y'all be okay. Y'all got the information. Let's go.
Yahweh. The description of these acts begins in verse 3 with a verb meaning return that is normally used in the Bible to describe the reintroduction of the proper Yahwistic cult. Binger theorizes that the Deuteronomists were rewriting a text that was actually friendly toward Manasseh and believed he was rectifying the mistakes of his father Hezekiah by restoring Asherah to her place in the temple. At any rate, this passage confirms that an image of Asherah had been present in the Jerusalem temple. Incidentally, Manasseh enjoyed a remarkably long reign, 55 years. It's hard to avoid the conclusion that he was a popular and effective monarch. 2 Chronicles even rehabilitates Manasseh's reputation by telling a story in which Manasseh is taken captive by the Assyrians, repents, and is restored to his throne.
That's not true.
Nothing of the sort happens in 2 Kings. Josiah's counter-reforms. According to 2 Kings 23, King Josiah, the grandson of Manasseh, imposed significant reforms on the temple and the populace. In verse 4, he removes the vessels made for Baal, for Asherah, and for the host of heaven from the temple and has them burned in the fields of the Kidron. Verse 7 is translated by Binger as follows: "And he tore down the houses of the Kedeshim that were in the house of Yahweh, where the women were weaving, where the houses of Asherah were." This raises several questions. Who were the Kedeshim? Why did the Asherah cult at the temple have women whose job was to weave fabric? Kedeshim is often mistakenly translated as prostitute, but the Hebrew root means holy or sanctified. The Kedeshim may simply have been cultic personnel.
And let me pause for the cause again, because they love to always throw prostitute on women in the Bible. Even in our today's text, if you look up the word queen, I believe it means in today's time it means prostitute, whore. This is, if you can't see it, then you just blind to it, of the oppression of anything that has to do with a woman having any royal status. Okay, because king don't mean pimp, gigolo, hoe, dog, nothing negative. So why in today's words would they lower the king's woman to a whore or a prostitute? Look it up. The word queen. It makes no sense, guys. Let's continue. Side note.
Who were not exclusive to Yahweh. According to Binger, there is no particular reason to think prostitution was a part of Asherah worship in the temple. As for the weaving, one scholar, Susan Ackerman, has argued that Asherah was, in addition to her other roles, the Israelite goddess of spinning and weaving. Ackerman points out that in the Hittite myth of El Kumirsa, Asherah holds a spindle with which she attempts to stab Baal. In the Bible, the wisdom woman of Proverbs is described as a weaver and seamstress.
Yep.
And many scholars think
Woman too.
this woman is deliberate since she is present with Yahweh at creation and described as a tree of life. Which recalls.
Did y'all hear that? Didn't I tell you to take notes? Didn't I tell you to take notes? What did I tell you to take notes in the beginning? We're going to pause for the cause. Because I told you to take notes and I told you to write down something specific I told you to write down. Who got it? Put it in the chat. Drop it in the chat. I want to see who paying attention. I told you to write down something. It's simple too. It's only got 4 letters in it. I'm gonna wait. Y'all ain't wrote it yet? I said write down tree. Let me write it down. Let me go ahead. Let me put this in the chat too. Go ahead and just in case y'all want to hit the Cash App. Let me write this in the chat because I told y'all to pay attention and write down tree. It wasn't that hard. I said write down tree. Let me give y'all an emoji with it. I don't know if the emoji gonna show up. Let me see if I can find a tree. Why did I say write down tree? I said it was important, didn't I? When it comes to when we're talking about ancient times, they did not write like we write today. Okay? I said write down tree. They don't write like we write today. That's why they had to have it rewrote, transcribed, all that, so we can understand it. And they wrote in hieroglyphs, pictures, right? That's why symbolism is so important, especially in the other side, how they do. They like to turn stuff upside down. So they use a lot of symbolism. I want y'all to be paying attention in the chat when I asked you to write down something. I said tree. That's right. That's right, Gotten. I asked you to write down tree for a reason. I need you to pay attention. And I asked you to pay attention to why I had the pictures. I don't just throw pictures up just to throw pictures up for a thumbnail. It has a meaning to what we're talking about today. Okay? The menorah. I asked you a couple of other questions after I asked you to pay attention and write down tree. I asked you, are you Israel? I asked you, are you a sinner? Do you sin? I gave you the understanding of what sin is. It's the breaking of the commandments. And if you are Israel and you keep the commandments, then you're getting ready to go into some holidays. Holiday. Come on now. Come on. Celebrate. Because we don't celebrate no pagan holidays. When we took a holiday, took some time to celebrate. We getting ready to celebrate Passover. Are you Israel? I'm putting pieces of the puzzle together for you. We are talking about ASHERAH. Do we celebrate pagan holidays? No. Do we use pagan imagery? No. Do we use the menorah for Passover? Yes. If you took a holiday, Don't have me start jamming up here for you. Okay? Pay attention. Putting puzzle pieces together. They didn't write normal. Let's continue.
Name of King Abdi Ashirta, meaning servant of Ashirta. Abdi Ashirta was a major 14th century Amorite ruler who was mentioned by name in 52 tablets from the El Amarna archives in Egypt. These were diplomatic letters that had been exchanged between the Egyptian pharaoh and various Near Eastern kings and governors during the late Bronze Age. Asherah's popularity in the Bronze Age also ranged well beyond Amurru and Mesopotamia. She has a prominent role in the Hittite El-Kunirsa myth, which was discovered on a fragmentary tablet in Hattusa, the capital of the ancient Hittite Empire. This myth tells a complicated story of seduction and betrayal involving Asherah and the god El-Kunirsa, as well as the death and resurrection of the storm god Baal. The name El-Kunirsa might be derived from the Ugaritic El-Konars, an epithet of the High Canaanite god that meant El, creator of the earth. And indeed, the entire myth.
Did y'all hear that?
Archaeology.
I get so tired of this thing skipping back to the start. Did y'all hear that? El. E-E-L. Elohim. If you really study, you will know it didn't say God said. It didn't say God said, let us create man in our image. Before they got their grubby hands on and start manipulating the Bible, it said Elohim said, let us. Elohim is plural. God is singular. Elohim said, let us make man in our image, meaning there were more than one God there in the beginning. We're going to wake up today. We're going to keep waking up, keep rubbing and scrubbing our eyes. Wash your face. Let me try to get this back to where I had it at. This thing just skipping around.
If I like it, I'll just get it in every single color.
Y'all just hold tight. I already gave you the name of the documentary. You can go look it up yourself. Study to show yourself approved. Okay. We're going to skip through. Like I said, I can't go through the whole thing, but we're going to get to where we need to go. Let me see. Bible. Let me see. Let's get to how long I've been on here. Okay, let me get to as close as I can get to where we was at. Okay? Hope y'all paying attention. Let's get it.
Despite the reforms that were allegedly carried out by Josiah, there are reasons to think Asherah's legacy never totally went away. In fact, two key temple objects that are associated with the proper Yahwist cult in the Old Testament may actually have originated with Asherah veneration.
Here we go.
First, it needs to be pointed out that the majority of the Bible's 40-odd references to Asherah are not direct references to the goddess herself, but are instead references to cultic objects called Asherim, associated with Asherah. Although scholars debate the exact nature of these objects, they seem to have been stylized trees or poles.
What I tell you?
Or perhaps even trees that have been cut and pruned in a specific way. We know they were made of wood and stood upright, because numerous passages talk about cutting them down and burning them. Unfortunately, since wood does not survive long periods of time, archaeologists have yet to find any good examples of surviving Asherim. However, we may have some ancient depictions of similar objects. An ancient Greek vase depicts an altar with a palm branch, and a Tyrian coin shows two masabo, or standing stones, with an incense altar and ornamental tree. In fact, many of the sacred trees shown in ancient Israelite inscriptions might actually be representations of these Asherim, like this ornate seven-branched tree with blossoms and almond-shaped fruit drawn on the storage jar at Kuntilat Adrud. We also have good reason to think these Asherim were commonly placed in the Jerusalem temple.
Come on.
And perhaps
Come on,
even
Jerusalem.
in the inner sanctuary, since Deuteronomy 16 goes out of its way to prohibit the placement of Asherim beside Yahweh's altar. You shall not plant any tree as an Asherah beside the altar that you make for Yahweh your God.
Okay, pause. Hopefully I won't mess it up. We talked about how in Deuteronomy you start seeing the manipulation and the oppression to hide Asherah as a figure, as a godhead, as Elohim has been there. We just went through the history. Asherah, Yahweh, some of y'all call him Yahweh, has always been there. Asherah has always been there. But we have men, yes, who have gone in and wanted to oppress Yahshua. I mean, y'all know who I'm talking about. Not Yahshua. Wanted to oppress her being, her image, anything related to her, even in the holies of holy. So in Deuteronomy, this is where you start to see the manipulation of the tree, because the drawings that I told you in the beginning that symbolized her as the tree. Oh, it's gonna get deep, y'all. I might give it away. I'm gonna go ahead and give it away. The tree of life. Ooh-wee. Yeah. The tree of life, baby. The lotus. We hear why women always a lotus flower, the blooming of something. Y'all go around and just side note, go around in the cities today. Look around in New York City. Look around in Chicago. Hell, go look around in Florida. Palm trees. You know what they are? They are not the tree of life. They are all male trees. This is a fact. It was done on purpose. They are all male trees. They do not produce fruit. They are only there for ornamental use only. If you have a tree in your yard that produces fruit, that is a female tree. Note that. So we are talking about ancient times. This is factual. No male tree produces fruit. Only female trees produce fruit. Only female trees, people, we produce fruit. The fruit of our wombs. Side. Deuteronomy, the priest put a 1 in the chat if we're still good. Put a 1 in the chat if you still can hear me. We good? I need a 1. I need a 1. Can I get a 1 in the chat if we are still good? They saying the connection is messing up. Of course it would be. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Okay. All right. Good to go. Good to know. All right. Thank you, Drip King. All right. So we gonna keep going. All right. So just a side note, I just wanted y'all to know if that was just a little education for you. If you didn't know, all fruits that you eat and you munch down on come from a female plant, female tree, everything female. So it was important for you to write down tree. It was important for you to see all of the ancient artifacts that had trees etched on them, referencing God's wife, ASHERAH. Let's continue. So in Deuteronomy, we see that they was like, oh, not today. This is a boys club. This is a boys club only. We don't want no females in the building. That's why we probably got the sickness that we got going on right now. No balance. Let's continue.
Set up a stone pillar, things that Yahweh your God hates. The things that Yahweh hates, of course, are quite subjective, since stone pillars, or masabo, which were an indigenous part of Israel culture, are regarded positively in many non-Deuteronomistic passages.
Of course. Stone pillars. I gotta get deep with y'all. Even in Egyptian culture, they use obelisks. And if we want to really get deep, what does the obelisk really symbolize? Anybody? You can put a fruit in there if you know what I'm talking about. What does the obelisk symbolize? We just heard that in Deuteronomy, the priest didn't want any Asher figures, any trees, any fruit of life in the holies of holies, in the temples. And then they said they didn't want no stone figures, but it's obvious that the stone figures has always been part of Israel's decorations, temple building. It's been a part of Egypt too. The obelisk, them straight up and down. Things look like a tall steeple. What do they represent? Y'all don't know? Oh, we got to. Oh, okay. I see what's going on. We got to come back to school. They represent the male phallus. That's right. The male phallus. It's wanted to understand. This ain't about all that pretending. We gonna wake up and learn something today. They ain't want no representation of the woman, but they want that phallus all over the place. Let's continue.
Now, let's consider the menorah. The story of Exodus.
Let's go. I'm gonna turn off the camera, y'all.
The menorah's official origins is a priestly text, which means it was produced after the exile and after the Deuteronomistic literature. It specifies a 7-branch lampstand made of gold and decorated with almond flour. In an important menorah published in 1971,
Menorah.
Yarden argued that the menorah was deliberately stylized as an almond tree as a way of suppressing or combating the Asherah cult. This implies that Asherah worship was still a major part
Let me
of
say
Israelite
something
culture
one more
during
again.
the early second.
He said this was or make the Asherah cult. What does cult mean? The Asherah secret. The Asherah secret. Cult means secret knowledge, secret. Okay? Israel has always known about Asherah. We have had men in our history to want to hide Asherah's secret. The menorah was designed Asherah. Okay? Let's continue.
Period. But why is the menorah specifically designed to represent an almond tree?
You may think that an adult that can't stop watching.
Let's let that go and skip that. Here come another commercial. Go and skip that one too. Sorry, you ain't get your loot. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off
the Near East
video, y'all.
So is apparently the first to blossom in Israel. It blooms in January or February, while other trees are still bare. It has been linked to the mother goddess since ancient times.
What you say?
It's amygdala.
Amygdala
comes from the Semitic amagalu,
great mother.
Great mother. In biblical Hebrew, the almond tree was originally called Luz.
Luz.
It is still called Luz in Arabic today. Significantly, Luz is the name given to the place where Jacob dreamed of steps going up to heaven in Genesis 28. Upon waking, he set up a sacred stone and named the place Bethel, that's of El. In the
house of
the site of a religion.
The house of what? Y'all remember Jacob's ladder when y'all was in, come on. Y'all ain't been out of church too long. Y'all remember Jacob's ladder? Where Jacob wrestled with the angels and no, you ain't gonna go nowhere till you bless me, all that. Jacob's ladder. The house of El, he named it. Elohim. Not God. He didn't name it the house of God. Is the title. God is singular. The house of El. Elohim. Many gods. Let's continue.
A sanctuary dedicated to a goddess, probably Asherah. Several goddess plaques of the kind originally mentioned were found here along with the Hathor column. The Jacob story legitimizes the site's cultic significance. Later, the Ark of the Covenant is said to have rested at Bethel on its way to Shiloh, and 2 Kings 23:15 claims that there was still an Asherah pole at the Bethel altar during the late
What
monarchy.
is the Asherah pole? Y'all should know by now.
Points out that
what is the Asherah pole? Y'all should know by now, Israel. You're getting ready. Hey, the tree is blooming. The almond tree is blooming. It's doggone February. When they say the almond tree blooms? January, February, getting ready to go into what? Springtime. What do they use when they made a pole? The menorah is fashioned out of what? The shape of what? An almond tree. The almond tree represents who? The great mother. The almond tree represents who? Asherah. Is God married? Is there a holy? Or is this run by a male? deities. I believe somebody been lying to us. Why they use a menorah shaped out of the shape of the almond tree, the pole? Israel, are we worshiping and using pagan tools? Or have you been lied to and you don't even know the origin of the menorah that you're getting ready to use because you said you're not a sinner? You say you keep the commandments. So if you keep the commandments, you keep the holy days. Not the holidays, you keep the holy days. And a holy day getting ready to come up is Passover. So you're going to need your menorah, right? Oh, but why are we bringing the menorah in? What does that represent? Esther? Oh, let's go. The great mother?
Neither Amos nor Hosea denounced the Asherah at Bethel, suggesting that it was considered to be an acceptable part of the cult of Yahweh until the Deuteronomist decided otherwise.
Who? Those men, the
In
Deuteronomists?
summary, the Israelite version of the Asherah pole was probably, at least in some cases, either a sacred living almond tree or some kind of wooden pole made from an almond tree. The ancient city of Luz, with its historical devotion to Asherah, was an important site throughout Israel's history. Even though the Aaronide priests did away with Asherah worship in the Second Temple, they kept her beloved symbol, the stylized almond tree with 7 branches.
Hello. Did you learn something today? Did you learn something today? Oops, there it is. I missed that one. Oops. Did you learn something today? Israel. What is the origin of your menorah? Is it the Queen Mother? Is it the Queen Mother? You may ask yourself, why is there so much oppression of women? You may ask yourself why there is so much oppression of Elohim. And Elohim, Asherah, is in Elohim. You may ask yourself these questions. You may ask yourself, why do they oppress the Ruach Kadash, a female spirit, as well, and call it a Holy Ghost? Israel, wake up. I hope this was informative. If you liked this, go ahead and hit the thumbs up and leave your comments on the replay. If you come back to see this on the replay, I enjoyed sharing this information with you all. I'm out, and much love.